Okay, so how do you prepare your bucket? Okay, it's really good to have one bucket that you can then wrap things round to change the look, whether it be the magnetic sort, or, and I do this quite a lot, just wrap a wrap round it, and you can get those little wall magnets, those little hang on, let me show you. I use these for my backdrops, but they work really well on there just to hold a wrap, and you can get a scarf, a wrap, or whatever you want, and that changes the look of your bucket. So one bucket, because what happens with one bucket that you then change the look of is that you get very good at using it because it's the only one you've got, so it becomes very familiar. So how do you fill it? Okay, so it's probably this one, for example, because I know it very well, it's usually a bit too deep for most babies. Okay, so I've got it packed in the bottom. Now you don't, unless you have a very narrow bottomed container, and you probably wouldn't do that, you don't need to weight it, and I'll tell you why. The baby is never going to be hanging over the edge. The baby is contained within it. The only thing that comes over the edge are the elbows. Okay, so the entirety of the baby's body is going to be in the bucket, and also quite low down in the bucket at the back here, which means you don't need to weight it. But if it makes you feel comfortable doing that, that's absolutely fine. The only other time I would suggest weighting it is if it's really tall, or if you have something like this one and you're posing the baby on the end, and then you might need to support that end. Okay, but on a bucket like this you don't need to. So it's packed with that. That's just an old bean that I had full of rice, and then I've got a bit of sponge there. Now these are really good for this. You can get these on various online sites for not a lot of money. Now they're good because you can get them with wires in as well, but I prefer the ones that don't. All you've got to do is put the lip there and push that in, and that's pretty much it. Okay, that's all I have. Okay, now the good thing about doing this is that when you've got the baby on here, sometimes you need to obviously make sure the elbows are right at the top, and obviously I will show you how to do that. But if you decide that you want the baby to drop just a touch, all you've got to do with baby on it is just do that, and obviously you'd have a fabric over it and stuff. You can then push that down if you need to, and then you can pull it and adjust it as you're working with it. So it's very good for that. The only other thing is to always have little beans nearby, and then just maybe pop one there, okay, under the bottom, and start there, put baby in, okay, and then you can always reach in and remove it if you want baby to drop, because it depends on the length of the baby, how big baby is. But can you see, basically what we're going to aim to do is put baby's bottom right at the back, and if you look, it's very low down. But that's it, there's nothing else. The only other thing on top would be whatever fabric you choose. But it's not full of stuffers, it's not full of fur, there's nothing else, it's just that. That's it.